welcome to my talk series, Was zu sagen haben, freely translate in English, something to say. My name is Isabelle-Sailer and I'm a communication consultant and process facilitator supporting my clients in finding their way and their language during transformation processes. From what I understand is that you are saying, well, the well-known concept VUCA is actually becoming obsolete. Would you like to kind of tell us a little bit more about that?
Sure. Volatile, uncertain, complex, ambiguous. As a way of describing the world, that felt very relevant in the 2000s. But in recent years, I've begun to realize that that is almost the state of nature. I mean, that is the world around us all the time. You know, the phrase that I've used in talks about it is, we eat VUCA for breakfast. And so in order to identify the kinds of radical, almost chaotic forces that we're wrestling with now, we needed a new language. And I found myself working towards a model that I came to call BANI, B-A-N-I, for brittle, anxious, nonlinear, and incomprehensible. Sort of the step beyond VUCA. We've seen systems that brittle is a system that appears strong, but when it breaks, it shatters. Just or anxiety inducing, that is for many of us, our day-to-day feelings about the world. And anxiety is that feeling that manifests when you know that something has to be done, but you don't know what to do, or you feel that all of your options are bad. Nonlinear is a mathematical concept, but essentially what it means is that the results are out of scale from the trigger. So you can have it can be a process that you take a step now and you won't see the result for 2 decades, as with climate change. So we could stop putting any additional carbon into the atmosphere right now, and we would still see decades more of warming and chaotic weather, and it won't get better unless we start taking carbon out. So nonlinear is this disproportionate asymmetric system where a small thing can have a massive result, or a massive thing can just dwindle into nothingness, and it's never really expected. And incomprehensible refers to just that the sheer chaos around us, and how very often it's difficult, if not impossible, to understand how consequences arise. Now, one of the things about incomprehensibility is that I don't mean it in an eternal sense. We can potentially learn how to grapple with some of the things that seem to be incomprehensible now. Similarly, we may be able to get a better handle on things that are brittle through working on a resilience or flexibility. These are not unsolvable problems, but they are all elements of chaos. And we're in a world of chaos right now that is exacerbated by the kinds of social forces in power and the kinds of technologies that we see all over the world. And it just turns out that, as a side benefit, the word BANI is the Old Norse term for death. So there's that too.
Well, is that a positive sign or rather a negative sign for you?
It's a meaningful sign, I think.
When I listened to you and when I read the article, I always thought like, well, this now could be the answer to the question I always had with VUCA. What can I do with it?
I sometimes see BANI as VUCA's VUCA. So if we think about the origins of VUCA as a way of describing, this is the way the once placid, once understandable world has become harder to understand because it's volatile and uncertain, etc. Well, in a world where everything is volatile and uncertain, the next step beyond that, the VUCA for VUCA, is this world of BANI. It is a lens. It's a way of trying to give some structure to a formless void. You know, the response I've gotten from people around the world around the notion of BANI is that it gives a language for something that they knew was there but didn't know how to describe.